Just a torrent of news over the weekend, not the deluge that we're used to over the weekends these days. But look, we're going into a new week here where the White House is continuing to mount efforts to try to find whoever it was who wrote that op-ed piece anonymously in the New York Times accusing the president of amorality and, in essence, incompetence on the job. Kellyanne Conway, the president's advisor, was on Meet the Press yesterday. She said that despite the author writing that there were many people inside the administration trying to thwart the president's actions, command and control of the White House is clear, and it's centered in the chief of staff, John Kelly. Meanwhile, the president focused this week on the possibility of new tariffs on China, widely expected a new $200 billion in tariffs on China. Already some questions about what that will mean for individual companies, including Apple. Take a look at the president's tweet over the weekend. The president suggesting that Apple should simply make its products here in the United States. He says Apple prices may increase because of the massive tariffs we may be imposing on China, but there's an easy solution where there would be zero tax and indeed a tax incentive. Make your products in the United States instead of China. Start building new plants now. Exciting, hashtag MAGA. So the president there suggesting that he may be inclined to move forward with the $200 billion in tariffs. That's expected, as I say, this week. And then last week, he suggested that there's an additional $267 billion in tariffs behind that against China, which would effectively put tariffs on every single product that the Chinese export to the United States. That, I'm told, is the president's plan for what to do if the Chinese retaliate against what could be a round of tariffs this week. So an escalating trade war here between the United States and China as the White House continues to focus on finding the leakers and finding out who wrote that anonymous op-ed.
Have you seen the piece that maybe they're not trying that hard because it's actually...
Who was that, Axios?
I don't know, yeah, because it's not... They're able to use this as sort of...
Because it works to sort of confirm the deep state thing, right?
And I've seen so many articles, Eamon, and you know, you could say these are... I guess dead enders isn't the right word, but you know, it's not just the hardcore base of Trump that is criticized. There's a Huffington... I mean, I was almost like fainted. Someone wrote for the Huffington Post that this guy is not a hero. I think that's from the side. The Huffington Post said you didn't have the nerve.
Well, some people
to put your name on it yourself,
further,
so that
further than it went, right?
They want people to put their name on it, yeah. So that, but it's almost as if both sides that have, and a lot of people just saying this is the sanctimony, that it was just dripping with sanctimony. Some unelected, bureaucrat who's deciding what the right direction for the country is. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, look,
it didn't work as well as I think. It didn't work as well as the New York Times had hoped.
We talked about this a little bit last week, the difference between a constitutional crisis and what I've been calling an unconstitutional crisis, right? You know, a constitutional crisis is when there are two arms of the U.S. Government at odds with each other and no real clear way to solve that. In this case, I think it's people using unconstitutional means to go and achieve their political end, which is thwarting this president. Things that are not envisioned in the Constitution. This is not the 25th Amendment. It's not impeachment. And my guess is this is an author who's frustrated with the fact that he or she doesn't have the votes for the 25th Amendment and doesn't have the votes on Capitol Hill for impeachment, but nonetheless would like to curtail this president because of what he sees as instability emotionally and policy-wise.
I still need to know, if it's the deputy undersecretary to the assistant energy for, I don't know. It could, I don't know how low it goes. But you did see Woodward in his first interview said like he was trashing the anonymous writers. The guy that the same week had a lot of the same sort of. I don't know. You were left with the same impression whether it was Woodward's book or the anonymous writer.
One of the things that I think is really interesting here is, there've been all these people out there who've denied it, right? A lot of, starting with the vice president and on down, a number of senior officials have said, no, it wasn't me. But there are also a number who have not denied it. And I think the non-deniers are maybe as interesting as the deniers in the sense that is that an intentional effort on the part of the non-deniers? They know that everyone's out there denying it. Are they trying to sort of create safe space here for the person who actually wrote it, even if they didn't write it themselves? I don't know the answer to that.
Or is it just a situation where you're going to be principled and say, look, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to get into this guessing game, this parlor game?
I don't know. I think the White House is very, very eager for key players inside the White House to issue these denials and say it wasn't them. And
they're trying to smoke out this person. Have been like, yeah, no kidding.